close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways.
We're going to be tackling the B2C API in this particular tutorial. So let's not waste any time and let's just get straight to it. So to get started, we're going to go ahead and visit the packages documentation right here. So before anything, you always know you have to install the SDK itself so that you can be able to actually do some integration. So what we're going to do, we're going to head back to our folder like so. Then the B2C right here, this is the implementation without any, it doesn't include any of the front end. So we're going to have to clear that out immediately. So we're going to require once the vendor files. Then once we do that, we're also going to need the credentials. Same thing. So let's go ahead and copy this. So once you also have those credentials, we can go ahead and start creating the function. So the function right here is gonna be create a function, and we're gonna call it send money. So the feedback I got from the last video is you guys cannot view this code from mobile. So I'm gonna go ahead and zoom that in nicely like so. So right here it will have two parameters, which will be the phone number and the amount. So in here we'll also need to pass in, of course, the credentials. Like so. Then once we do so, we're gonna need the code. So if you remember the syntax, it was creating a transaction, which is an array, like so. Then in here we will need to create the data we need to pass here, which will be the account. And then once you have created that, you will need to pass in both the phone number, the amount, as well as one more thing right here, which will be the narrative. Which in here you can input anything. You can say it's B2C, you can say it's a promotion, you can say anything at this point, but you just have to make sure you actually have something that states the reason why this payment is being made so that you can have better accounting for this. Then you're going to initialize a transfer because this falls under the send money category. So it's going to be a new transfer. So once you have actually created that transfer, what you will do here is now pass the credentials to initialize this, which you do that by going ahead and saying variable transfer initialize that and then pass the credentials like so, and then close that. Then we're gonna do variable response is gonna be variable transfer M-Pesa. Then you're gonna pass the currency to be Kenya shillings. Like so. Then once we have that, we have to call the approve method, because how IntaSend works is once you have created such a request, you have to approve the transaction. So that will be variable response maybe the transfer, and then approve that. Sorry about that. Okay, that is uppercase for some reason. Yeah, approve. We have a typo there. Yeah, perfect. Then what we'll do now is we need the tracking ID. So I'm gonna create a variable tracking ID, and then we get this from the response. In the objects, we have a tracking ID. Like so. Then we will do the same thing we did for the SDK push, which is we're gonna create a loop here, which will be checking for the status of this transaction. So I'm gonna do while true. Then I'm gonna need this to actually have a delay, like so. Then I'm gonna be checking for the status of this transaction through the response. Like such. So I'm gonna need the status. Then what it will be using will be the tracking ID. Easy peasy. Then once you are done with that, we're gonna need to go into the transactions. So I'm gonna say transaction status, which is gonna be the response. This autocomplete is extremely wrong. Then we're gonna say transactions, which is an array, so the first item in that index. Then we're gonna say if the transaction status is successful, if the transaction code is successful, then just break. Like so. Then what I will do is let me create a new variable here called withdraw, which will be the transaction status. Boom. Then I will do the redirect like before. location, which is we create a new page. Oh, no, we can still use the index. So I'm gonna say index.php, and then I will need the message right there. So withdraw is gonna be the variable withdraw, like so, and then we can just exit, like so. So now we have this function, but we have an enclosed something like that. Yeah. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna head back into our home page. Then we'll need to have a CDN. What was this actually? This was the SDK push page. This is what we've been using. So I can just go ahead and create a new file. I'm gonna call this B2C home .php. Yeah. Then I'm gonna do an image tag here. I'm gonna call this the B2C home. Yeah. Then I will need to have my Tailwind and Daisy UI in the head tag, like so. And once I have that, I will now go ahead and now create the form for the withdrawal. So instead of actually going back and forth with this, we already have this. So I'm just gonna go ahead and grab that. So instead of withdraw.php, the handler will be B2C. B2C.php. Okay, phone number, amount, and the withdrawal. So what you're gonna have to change here is just make sure the input field has the name, phone number, amount, and the button has the name withdraw, and it's also type submit. Yeah, perfect. Then from here, what we'll actually do to actually action this is now, since we have the function, we'll actually need this function to be able to have the data that we are sending from the particular form. So let's just go ahead and do that, which is actually quite simple for this. So I'm just gonna do an if statement, and you're gonna check if this has been set. So if we set variable underscore post, and then you're gonna check if the withdraw button has been clicked. So withdraw, like so. Then you're gonna pass in the variable phone number, which we actually got this from the form itself. So phone number, and then let's just do the same for the amount, and then just send money and pass in the variable phone number and amount. So just close that up, and yeah, this should be good. But like I said before, we also have to account for one more thing, which is actually having this particular transaction status to be able to be viewed by the end user. So in order to do that, we actually have to go back to the B2C home, and then we're gonna create the function to be able to actually display this, which we already did in the last tutorial. So we're not going to spend a lot of time doing that. I'm just going to grab this and actually paste it right in there. So we're going to figure out where to actually place this. So I think the best place to put it is right here after the first h1 tag. I'm going to do a span tag. Like so. Then you can go ahead and now let's just have this hash. Yeah, so we have that. So maybe I'm gonna do several of this times like 5. Then if I go ahead and refresh, we have this particular form. So I can go ahead and okay, let me go ahead and check off screen how much. So I'm gonna go ahead and share the device so that we can be able to see if this goes through. So it's right here. So let me share that side by side, and let's just go ahead and do some testing here. So I'm gonna withdraw like 20 shillings. Instant withdrawal, and I'll pull that up. So as you can see, that was a success right there. So the only thing that is not picking up is actually getting this to display. Let's just head back into the code and see what's up with that. So according to our b2c.php, we had the function send us back. Okay, we did not do send us back to b2c home.php and give us that message. So this is the one handling this. So it's echoing out that because the redirect was not actually implemented. So let's just head back there and go into b2c home.php and get rid of anything else after that. So let's go around to testing this. And as you can see, we have that transaction right there.
I was about ready to wrap up the video right there and then when IntaSend outdid themselves with a new update to the B2C API, which offers you the ability to have automatic withdrawals as well as, of course, the required approval, which we already have when needed. So to take advantage of this, first of all, update the SDK to the latest version so that you'll be able to have this running. And once you have that, let's take a look at this. So at first glance, everything seems the same, but with a closer look, you can see the requires approval variable, which you can set to either yes or no, which this is particularly important if your app handles funds, which you have to disburse to your users. You can choose to either do this automatically or you can have admins verify this before disbursement just by changing the approval to either no or yes. So let's look at this code for a minute. So of course, we already have the array of the transactions which we had before. And now we have, it's much cleaner with the, of course, optional narrative of the transaction. So for the required approval, if you set this to yes, that is going to require the approval before it goes through, and know if you want this to be done automatically. So same as before, you create a new transfer object and initialize it with your credentials. And once that is done, you can call the M-Pesa method of the transfer object to initiate the transaction. The M-Pesa method takes in the currency, transactions, and whether it requires the approval or not as a parameter, and then it will return the response from the API. So as you can see right here, this is the response for a successful transaction. So as you can see, prior to this, we always had this enabled by default, so you would have to run the approval right below that. But right now, that means that you can be able to actually set this up programmatically, whether you want to have that option set or not. So yeah, this was a quick update from IntaSend themselves. So go ahead and check this out. Very nice, very cool stuff coming from that particular B2C API. Hopefully you guys are as excited as I am about this, and if you are, please let me know down in the comment section by giving a comments, and I'll be able to interact with you down there. Yeah, peace out.
Fast a little bit, body's running slow.
I know everything.
Let's have the stack of a flow.
Everybody working a cubicle with tons of Mac and a wireless to miracle.